Everybody praises perfection. But what if it's actually keeping you trapped? Perfectionism, although you may think is about high standards, is absolutely not. I'm going to talk to you about why perfectionism is often about fear, shame, and the desperate need for approval. This is Ellen Stewart, the pushy broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Recovery Recharged. Let's get right into why being a perfectionist is making you miserable. I've got the top questions from my listeners. They want to know what it's all about. They want to know why so many successful people struggle and learn practical tools to break free from the exhausting cycle of just never feeling good enough and always striving to be perfect. Emily's in the studio with us today. Let's get right to it. Emily, first question from our listeners.
Most people think perfection is a strength. Why do you call it an addiction?
Perfectionism can absolutely become an addiction because it creates a cycle of temporary emotional relief. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. It has to be perfect, right? Like that Thanksgiving dinner or that wonderful party, or I'm getting dressed to go out, or the kids have to be dressed a certain way. Every time a perfectionist finishes something to what they believe is flawless, or they receive praise for it, the brain experiences a reward. But that feeling doesn't last. It lasts until the next time they have to try to be perfect. Or what happens if you keep striving for perfectionism and you never think you're going to get it? You look around the room at the party, and instead of enjoying the party as the hostess, you are looking at every single flaw. The red cups were out instead of the blue cups. The silverware isn't exactly right. There's a dish that isn't clean, or the garbage isn't emptied quickly enough for you. You're chasing the next achievement, the next feeling of perfection, the next compliment. Or you're running away from the criticism, or you're judging yourself so harshly that you are punishing yourself for not doing a good enough job as you're searching for the next perfect outcome. Just like any addiction, it becomes a cycle of seeking relief from anxiety rather than finding peace within yourself. It's that striving, it's that anxiousness, it's that feeling, I have to do better, I have to do better, it has to be perfect, or I won't feel good about myself. And that feeling of, okay, we'll start it all over again with the next big project. That cycle, that is addictive behavior. Let's go a little further. Emily, next question.
What is perfectionism really hiding?
When you strive for perfection, you're not thinking about doing things well. You're basically thinking about avoiding pain, whether you realize it or not. The pain of, I've done it wrong, or I have failed in this, or I'm going to be rejected, or somebody's going to criticize me, or the belief that I'm only valuable if I do this thing really well. If I don't have a perfect dinner, people are going to judge me. People are going to criticize me. People are going to think that I'm not capable. No amount of perfection can heal those emotional wounds. None. Those are the wounds that we need to reframe so that we're not looking for acceptance, but we are taking in our own sense of healing. So it doesn't matter how things get done. It matters how happy we are with ourselves and our own achievements at whatever level they are. Emily, next question.
Where does perfectionism usually begin?
Believe it or not, it starts in childhood. I'm sure it doesn't surprise a lot of you because a lot of stuff happens when we're kids. Some kids learn that they had to perform to receive love or approval. right? If you put on this little show or you do this little thing or you get an A on your test, you get love and approval and attention. Other people grew up in homes where mistakes were criticized or punished. That you're not any good if you've done this wrong, or you go out to play a sports activity and mom and dad are looking at you very critically because you missed catching the ball or you didn't win the game or something like that. You are judged on your performance and your achievements rather than who you are as a person. And that starts very, very young. And over time, perfection can become a survival strategy where it follows you into adulthood. The way that you put your armor on, the way that you feel loved, the way that you feel nourished, the way that you feel self love and self nourishment is to be totally perfect so that you can almost hear your parents in the background saying, "You did a good job today, Johnny," or "You did a good job today, Mary." And that makes you feel complete. When in reality, you're always looking for the next compliment, the next approval. And that's what makes it so vicious a cycle. And that's where perfectionism usually begins. Next, Emily.
How does perfectionism affect someone's recovery?
You know, this is a Pushy Broad. My show is Recovery Recharged, and we talk about addiction all the time. Perfection is one of these things. Recovery requires honesty, vulnerability, and progress, not perfection. In fact, that's one of the sayings in 12-step recovery. It's progress, not perfection. Because the moment we think we have to be perfect is the moment we begin to fail. Perfectionists often avoid asking for help because they feel they should already know the answers to things. That's what keeps them from the rooms. That's what keeps them from treatments. That's what keeps them from reaching out and calling somebody like the Pushy Broad at pushybroadfromthebronx.com to help you out with the problem. That's when somebody turns around and says, "I should have this drinking thing licked," or "I shouldn't have to seek help to stop drinking. I can just do this on my own," or "I can stop drugging on my own because I'm not going to let anybody know that I have vulnerability or frailties, or I'm not going to let anybody know that I need help." So perfectionists hide relapses. They hide their struggles because they fear disappointing other people. Perfectionism also keeps people isolated. The number one red flag of active addiction, isolation. And isolation fuels addiction. So there are all those ways that perfectionism directly affects someone's recovery. We try to tear down those walls when I coach. So call me for a free consultation, 800-889-1757 or pushybroadfromthebronx.com. Let's get rid of the stigma of perfectionism and enjoy an honest, open recovery. Emily, next question.
What are the warning signs that perfectionism has become unhealthy?
Perfectionism in general is unhealthy, but especially when you procrastinate because you're afraid of making mistakes and you continuously criticize yourself. You can't enjoy your current accomplishments, you struggle to accept compliments, or you believe that your value or your self-worth depends upon your performance. When all of those things come to the surface, one or all, perfectionism has most likely crossed into unhealthy territory for you. Emily, what else have you got?
How does perfectionism impact relationships?
I'm sure you can see it. I'm sure it's very evident. You either are the perfectionist in the relationship or you are living with someone that's a perfectionist, right? First of all, it makes vulnerability difficult. It's very hard for you to admit to a partner that you're vulnerable or you've made a mistake or you have done something that you maybe want to undo, or you want to be able to break down and cry or have a temper tantrum, because perfectionism makes vulnerability very difficult. You feel like you have to live up to an expectation and not be yourself, but be someone else's idea of how you should handle your life. People wear emotional masks all the time because they're afraid of being seen as flawed. That's a really big thing. I want to come off as perfect. I want to come off as not having any problems. I want to come off as just having my stuff together, okay, and not having to worry about it. And I want to seem to be not stressed and not agonizing over anything. And I want the world to see me as this perfect person. And that means your relationship. And that means the relationship is not honest and it's not real. It can also create unrealistic expectations for others, which means you damage the trust and the intimacy. Because if somebody only sees the perfect side of you, when you actually do break down and they don't see the perfect side of you, all of a sudden they don't understand what's going on. It's like, who are you? And what have you done with my partner? In addition to which, you can't live up to somebody else's view of perfection. So relationships flourish through authenticity, not perfection, every single time. Emily, next question.
Why are perfectionists often exhausted?
I know how I was every single time I planned a dinner for the family. I cooked lots of Thanksgiving dinners. I had lots of things to entertain. At one time in my life, I was married to a musician. I had the band over constantly. I did a lot of cooking, a lot of putting things together. I put events together. I did all kinds of things in my personal and professional life. Every single time I did it with a perfectionist viewpoint and strived to have every single little thing perfect. At the end of that experience, I was totally and completely exhausted. I couldn't get out of bed for days. How many of you do something amazing in the house, like all of you partners that do Christmas or the holidays, and every single holiday is a big hullabaloo. And then after that, you have to be in bed for a week because you can't lift your head up off the pillow. Part of that is because you strive for such perfectionism that it's exhausting to keep up with impossible expectations that 99% of the time you impose upon yourself. So your mind barely rests because you're always trying to improve, always trying to fix, and most importantly, always trying to control everything, right? Every single move, where this dish goes, where that fork goes. I know people that have catering services come in with people that help serve, help clean up, and do all of that, and they still find themselves ordering everybody around and not letting anybody do anything on their own. Because when you feel that you can do it better than anybody else and you do not lose that control, then you're exhausted at the end of that time. You don't get a chance to celebrate your victories because you're already focused on what wasn't good enough. So how could you possibly relax and enjoy? The only thing your body can feel is exhaustion. Think about it. The next time you're trying to do this, your body's going to reject it. Listen to your body. Emily, next question.
What is the biggest lie perfectionism tells us?
This is also an addictive thing. When you say I'm perfect, you think it'll be enough. The moment I reach perfectionism, it'll be enough. But perfection is an illusion. Every achievement simply raises the bar higher. Real healing begins when we realize our worth has never depended upon being flawless, has never depended upon the perfect performance that we give. And you find that true in everything. People that give a less than perfect performance when they stream something or videos that you see online that you love about people just being people. Not the perfect lighting, not the perfect situation, but people just having honest conversations and maybe laughing or maybe doing stuff that would not be compared to an Oscar-winning performance. The more you strive for perfection, the more I need you to realize you will never reach that bar because there's no such thing. It's always in the eye of the beholder. And being your authentic self shows you where your line is. That's what you strive for. Stop thinking about striving for perfection and start thinking about striving for authenticity. Who am I really? Who do I want to be? Who is the person that I want to project to the world and, most importantly, to myself? Who's the person that I want to live with every single time I open my mouth? Emily, next question.
How can someone begin breaking free from perfectionism?
We go back to a recovery saying, basically, practice progress, not perfection. Just see what you're going to accomplish today. You take it one day at a time. Let's see what I can do today. Let's see how I can make this easy for myself rather than put more stress or anxiety on myself. Finish something without endlessly revising it, right? Do something, cook something, write a report, do what you need to do on a daily basis, do your work, maybe check it once because you need to, because it's your job, and then forget it. You're in school, you're going to write a paper, write the paper, give it your best, and then walk away. Stop constantly looking and poking and prodding at things. The same thing when you're getting dressed in the morning. Stop putting on 12 outfits to decide whether or not this one's going to be right for you. Let your gut be the deciding factor. Learn to be comfortable with good enough. And if good enough doesn't work for you, then learn to be comfortable with good. It doesn't have to be good enough. Recovery isn't about getting everything right, like life. It's not about getting everything right. It's about growing through the process. What am I doing and why am I doing it? And does it bring me joy rather than the need to be more perfect? Emily, what else have we got?
If someone listening today realizes perfectionism has been controlling their life, what would you tell them?
Well, I tell them that people who truly love them don't need a perfect version of themselves, okay? Somebody that truly loves you doesn't need you to be perfect. In fact, most people can't stand people that try to be perfect. They need the real person. They need the authentic you. Healing begins when you stop performing for acceptances and start living authentically. If you have problems with this and it's interfering with your recovery, or you're in a partner relationship and here, the summer is almost over and we start fall and the holidays and the whole thing, and you want to get a jump on this, pushybroadfromthebronx.com. I've got free consultations happening and I'm taking on new clients. So let's see what I can do for you. Emily, next question.
Why do perfectionists have a hard time accepting compliments?
That's a two-sided coin. People that are perfectionists really believe the compliments. Instead of hearing the compliment, they immediately think about what they could have done better. And they poo-poo it and they dismiss it and they say, you're just saying that, because they don't trust. Perfectionists don't trust, because the only thing they try to trust is their own definition of perfection. So anybody that comes in any less than that or says something, they think, she's just saying that. Your inner critic, the perfectionist's inner critic, is always louder than everybody else's encouragement. So they dismiss praise and they keep chasing impossible standards, which means it doesn't matter what you do, because most perfectionists don't think it's ever good enough. So see how that cycle goes around and around and around. And because of that, it's an addictive thinking and addictive cycle that has to break, and also can very easily lend itself to picking up a drink or a drug on top of that. Emily, what else have you got?
Is perfectionism rooted in fear or confidence?
Perfectionism is never rooted in confidence. It is always rooted in fear. Confident people understand that they'll make mistakes and they'll continue moving forward. Okay? I always tell all of my clients it's not about making mistakes. I need you to make mistakes for the rest of your life. Everybody makes mistakes. The idea is to make new mistakes, not the same mistakes over again. Perfectionists believe mistakes define them. Perfectionists believe that I'm only as good as my last mistake. Perfectionists believe that they're not motivated by confidence, but they're actually driven by fear of failure, rejection, embarrassment, or not being good enough. That's where that stems from. No matter how you think you feel about it, if you have this feeling of I need to be perfect, that's driven by fear that you're afraid not to be. Because imperfect people don't get the love and affection and attention that you craved before. So think about it. Perfectionism is rooted in fear. Take a good look at that. Emily, let's move on.
Why do perfectionists procrastinate so much?
That is one trait of perfectionism. I mean, the other part of it is they write lists upon lists upon lists. I mean, just ad infinitum, and then just try to get everything right continuously, and are constantly working on it and working on it and working on it in an almost OCD fashion, obsessive compulsive fashion. But many perfectionists procrastinate, and they do that because they're tired and they're terrified of failing, so they don't want to take a step out, right? Some of them never get started because they never have to risk making a mistake. Fear becomes disguised as delay. So take a look and see if that's happening to you. Emily, next question.
Can perfectionism actually increase anxiety and depression?
Without a doubt, when your expectations are impossible and when you constantly feel like you're falling short, how do you think you're going to feel about that? Really? You're going to be anxious and you're going to be depressed. This automatically creates stress, anxiety, disappointment, and eventually becomes hopelessness because you live under impossible standards. And that becomes emotionally exhausting. So, perfectionism doesn't bring joy and positivity and happiness. It brings fear, anxiety, and depression and emotional exhaustion. Keep that in mind the next time you're planning that event. Emily, next question.
How does social media make perfectionism even worse?
Oh my goodness. Can you not see this? Can you not see what's right in front of you? Social media encourages comparison. I'm going to compare myself to somebody my age or somebody else that's doing something absolutely wonderful, and my video or my post is not as good as anybody else's, and I have to get better and better and better at it because I need more views, more likes. Doesn't that sound familiar? People compare their behind the scenes life to someone else's highlight reel. Okay. It's like, oh my God, that person must be having a wonderful life. They're making millions of dollars. They've got sponsors all over the place. They're just making a few doggy videos and millions of dollars are coming in. All of these things we believe that are not rooted in fact at all, because we begin believing everybody else has it together while we're the only ones struggling. That's simply not reality, and you know that. But it fuels perfectionist thinking. It also doesn't allow us to get started in something. Because if you think somebody in social media is doing it so much better than you and feeling so great about it and life looks wonderful for them, again, you feel as if you're never going to live up to those standards, so you don't do it at all. So that freeze moment happens. So that's what happens with perfectionism and how social media can absolutely make it worse. Emily, next question.
Can perfectionism become a substitute addiction after someone gets sober?
Yeah, I've seen that happen. I really have, in so many different ways. Somebody is sober and they want to focus on something, so they transfer addictions, right? In recovery, we talk about somebody substituting one addiction for another. So if you've stopped drinking or drugging, maybe you're addicted to achievement. You have to get straight A's at school, or you're addicted to fitness. You have to go to the gym every single day. You have to work out exactly at that time, or you have to do your very best on the job, or you're going to turn to ministry, helping others, being the perfect person in recovery. All of these things are wonderful. There is no question, but there are degrees to which you need to handle them so that you manage them in a healthy way, because these can be addictions. Because even though the substance changes, the underlying need to earn worth remains. What you need for approval is still there. Those are the things we have to work on when it comes to addiction, which is why we know that recovery is not just about getting clean and sober from a mood altering drug, but it's about changing the way you live your life, about changing the addictions that are plaguing your life. And perfectionism is one of those things. Okay, we've got time for a couple more. Next, Emily.
What's the difference between excellence and perfectionism?
Two sentences. Excellence means I'm going to strive to do my best, or I will do my best to the best of my ability. Perfectionism is my best will never be enough. There's a big difference in those two things. Excellence inspires growth. Perfectionism creates fear. Excellence is healthy. Perfectionism is driven by shame and impossible expectations. That's the difference. Emily, what else have we got?
What role does self-compassion play in overcoming perfectionism?
Yes, a very big role. And it's a very big tool in recovery. Self-compassion is everything. It's the understanding that you can't shame yourself into becoming healthier. Self-compassion allows you to learn from mistakes instead of being crushed by them. Healing grows when grace is practiced. The grace that you give yourself for being a human being, capable of making mistakes, capable of forming opinions that are sometimes impulsive, sometimes well thought out, and capable of accomplishing things to the best of your ability without worrying about whether or not you're enough in the process. I am so glad that you have decided to join us today. This is a very, very big topic when it comes to you and when it comes to learning things. Understand that perfectionism isn't a badge of honor. It's often a person disguised as success and is in this own personal prison. Don't go there. You don't have to earn love or respect or a place in this world by being flawless. You just have to be proud of who you are. It's your personal freedom, not your performance. Your imperfections don't make you less valuable. They make you human. And it's often through those imperfections that we connect most deeply with others. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad, saying thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, saying, remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the Pushy Broad from the Bronx.